When Sophia decided to operate on a sick beggar, she knew the risks. The operation was illegal and could cost her her job, but she knew she couldn't leave someone in need on the streets like that. But when her boss found out about the illegal operation, he wasn't as kind-hearted as her. She was fired on the spot. But this was not the end, because the beggar was not who he said he was. The beggar heard Sophia and her boss arguing outside of his room. She had just finished surgery on him, so he was feeling very weak. But when he listened to her boss firing her, he couldn't stay in bed any longer, so he slowly got up and walked over to the door. He opened the door, and Sophia and her boss immediately stopped arguing. "Oh, no, you shouldn't be up. Please lay down again, mister," Sophia asked him kindly. But the beggar wasn't about to do that. "Doctor, I couldn't help but hear your conversation," the beggar began. "I have something to confess." Sophia looked at the man with a confused look. "What do you mean?" she asked him. "Well," he said, "I haven't been entirely honest about my identity. You see, I'm not a beggar." Sophia couldn't believe what she was hearing. But why did the beggar lie about his identity? Who was he really? And will Sophia forgive him? Sophia had been rushing to the hospital for her night shift when she first saw the beggar. She had noticed him from the corner of her eye, but couldn't stop as she was already running late. She had promised herself that she would help him the next time she saw him. But as soon as she entered the hospital, she was met with an emergency case. A young girl had been brought in with a severe injury, and Sophia had to rush to the operating room. Hours later, Sophia emerged from the surgery room, exhausted but relieved that the girl was stable. As she left the hospital, she saw the beggar again, sitting in the same spot. He looked up at her, and for a moment, Sophia hesitated. She was tired and needed to rest, but she knew he really needed her help, so she decided to come in early the next day. The next day, Sophia kept her eyes peeled for the beggar as she arrived at the hospital. She was determined to help him. She had packed some medicine, water, and a sandwich in her bag, ready to give him when she saw him. But as she was earlier than usual, she didn't see him in his usual spot. And when she arrived at the hospital, she was met with another emergency case. This time, it was a boy who had been in a car accident and needed surgery. Sophia was once again called to the operating room, and the day passed by in a blur. Sophia felt disappointed in herself, but wouldn't stop until she helped him. It wasn't until the third day that Sophia finally saw the beggar again. She was leaving the hospital after her day shift when she saw him. He was sitting in the same spot, and she could see that he looked even sicker than before. She made her way towards him and offered him the medicine, water, and sandwich. He looked up at her, and for the first time, Sophia noticed the desperation in his eyes. "Please, doctor," he said. "I need real help. Your help. I have been suffering from a severe stomachache for weeks, and I can't afford to see a doctor. I fear for my life. Please, doctor." Sophia knew deep down she couldn't just walk away. So she asked the beggar to follow her to the clinic, where she could examine him properly. She knew she was breaking the law by operating on him, but she also knew that if she didn't help him, he would die. She snuck the beggar into the back entrance of the hospital and hurried past the night shift nurses. Then, she brought him into an empty exam room and did a few tests. Sophia quickly figured out what had been bugging the beggar, but it was worse than she initially thought. Way worse. Sophia realized the beggar needed immediate help, and not just medication. She had to do an operation on him sooner rather than later, but that was a difficult task. First, she had to be sure the operating room was empty, and she couldn't do it on her own. She needed help, but who would help her with this? She told the beggar to stay put and gave him some painkillers to temporarily ease the pain. Then she walked over to the receptionist. "Hi, Sophia," the receptionist said. "Shouldn't you be home right now?" she asked, confused. "Well, you know how it goes," Sophia nervously laughed. "Are Nancy and Theo working tonight?" Nancy and Theo were Sophia's most trusted colleagues. They always worked the night shift with her, and they were a fantastic team. And Sophia was in luck, as they were both working. "You will find them in Wing E. They should be on a break by now," the receptionist said, not expecting anything. Sophia rushed over to the East Wing and quickly found Theo and Nancy. They sat at a table together, but that wasn't a safe enough place for Sophia to discuss her illegal plans with them, so she asked them to follow her into an empty room. "Soph, what is going on? You're acting strangely." "Nancy, Theo, I have something important to ask of you," Sophia began. "It is dangerous and illegal, but I wouldn't ask you this if it weren't important." Nancy and Theo were stunned. They listened with wide eyes as Sophia explained the situation. "What?" Theo yelled. "You're asking us to do what?" "Sst, Theo, please," Sophia said. "Please, at least take a look at him. If you guys don't want to help me, I respect that, but I'm doing this either way." Theo and Nancy looked at each other and sighed. "All right," Nancy said. "Take us to him." And they followed Sophia back to the beggar's room. After looking at the beggar and running some tests, it became clear to Theo and Nancy they couldn't just leave him. They agreed to help Sophia, but they had to be very discreet about it. The other patients would always be a priority over him. Sophia agreed and set the first part of their plan into action. They had to figure out which operating room would be available in the next few hours. So, Sophia headed back to the receptionist. She lied and said she hadn't found Nancy and Theo yet. Then, she asked if there was a possibility they could be in an operating room, and, if so, which ones were in use. Unaware of Sophia's plans, the receptionist provided the needed information. Sophia thanked her and hurried back to Nancy and Theo. "All right," she said. "Operating room 10 isn't in use, so this is the perfect time to operate on our patient." Nancy and Theo agreed, so they wheeled the beggar into the room. Because of the shady circumstances, Sophia thought it would be best if she didn't know the beggar's name, so she called him Mr. instead. "All right, Mr.," she said to him. "You're going to sleep for a little bit, and when you wake up, your stomachache will hopefully be gone." Sophia had performed countless surgeries before, but this one was very different. She didn't have the proper equipment, and the beggar's condition was critical. She knew that if she made a mistake, he would die on the table. But she also knew that she couldn't let him suffer any longer. With trembling hands, Sophia began the surgery. She was nervous someone would suddenly walk in, so Nancy stood on the lookout, and Theo assisted Sophia in her operation. They worked for hours, sweating profusely, but they never gave up. Sophia knew that she had to save this man's life no matter what. Finally, the surgery was over, but things didn't go as planned. Sophia's boss found out that she had performed an illegal surgery on a beggar, and he was furious. He fired her on the spot, and Sophia was devastated. She had always put her patients first, and now she had lost her job because of it. Sophia sat alone in her dimly lit living room, the words of her boss echoing in her mind. The shock of being fired hadn't fully sunk in yet. She had dedicated her life to medicine, to healing those in need, regardless of their circumstances. Now, her career, her passion, had been stripped away in a moment of righteousness. The room felt colder than usual, her thoughts clouded with uncertainty. What would she do now? Her commitment to helping the beggar, a decision made in a heartbeat, had altered her life's trajectory irreversibly. She pondered over her actions. Was it worth it? The helplessness in the beggar's eyes, the relief after the surgery, all felt like a distant memory now. In the quiet of her home, surrounded by mementos of a career now in jeopardy, Sophia grappled with a profound sense of loss, not just of her job, but of her identity as a surgeon. The next morning, Sophia woke up to a sense of emptiness. The routine she had known for years, waking up early, heading to the hospital, the adrenaline of saving lives, was gone. She stared at her reflection in the mirror, searching for the confident surgeon she once was. Instead, she saw someone uncertain, standing at a crossroads. She thought about the beggar, how she couldn't turn away from someone in need. She had acted on impulse, driven by a deep-seated belief that every life was worth saving, regardless of the rules. Was she wrong to think that way? Her reflection offered no answers, just the image of a woman who had always followed her heart. But in a world governed by rules and expectations, Sophia wondered if her heart had led her astray. The decision to save a life had cost her everything. As she sat there, lost in thought, she knew one thing for certain: she would make the same choice again. Because to her, being a surgeon was not just a job, but a calling. 2 days later, Sophia's story had found its way to the local news. "Local surgeon fired for operating on a homeless man," the headline blared across the front page of the morning paper. Her actions, once confined to the walls of the hospital, were now public knowledge. The article detailed her decision to perform an illegal operation, framing it as a moral dilemma. As Sophia read the article, she felt exposed, her private decision and its consequences laid bare for all to see. The story spread quickly, fueled by the intrigue of a surgeon risking her career for a homeless man. Sophia's phone buzzed continuously with calls from reporters seeking her comment, but she ignored them all. She wasn't ready to face the world, not yet. The public reaction to the story was polarizing. Online forums and social media were abuzz with opinions. Many lauded Sophia for her selflessness and dedication to her Hippocratic oath, calling her a hero. "She did what any good doctor would do," one comment read. Others, however, questioned her judgment. "Rules are there for a reason," a dissenting voice argued. "What if something had gone wrong?" The community was divided, with heated debates erupting over the ethics of her decision. Sophia, who had always stayed away from the spotlight, found herself at the center of a moral and ethical storm. The weight of public opinion, both supportive and critical, added to the complexity of her situation. A week after her dismissal, Sophia received a formal notice. The state medical board had opened an inquiry into her unauthorized surgery. The letter outlined potential charges, including malpractice and breach of hospital regulations. The possibility of losing her medical license, a symbol of her years of hard work and dedication, loomed over her. Feeling overwhelmed, Sophia wondered if her career in medicine was truly over. In the midst of her despair, a glimmer of hope appeared. A lawyer named David Miller contacted her, having read about her case in the news. He was moved by her story and offered to represent her pro bono. "I believe in what you did," he said during their first meeting. "You shouldn't be punished for saving a life." David's belief in her case provided Sophia with some comfort. Together, they began preparing for the upcoming legal battle, determined to defend her actions and preserve her right to practice medicine. The legal battle wasn't Sophia's only challenge. With no job, her savings started to dwindle. She cut down on expenses, but the financial strain was palpable. Her days were filled with job applications, but the news of her dismissal had spread, and no hospital was willing to take the risk of hiring her. The isolation from the medical community, which had been her second home, was crushing. She missed the hustle of the hospital, the camaraderie with her colleagues, and most of all, the fulfillment of helping patients. During this trying time, Sophia's friends and family became her pillar of strength. They rallied around her, offering emotional and financial support. Her parents insisted she move in with them until she got back on her feet. Her friends organized small fundraising events to help with her living expenses and legal fees. They reminded her that she wasn't alone, that there were people who believed in her and stood by her decision. This network of support was a constant reminder of the good in the world, much like the care she had extended to the beggar that fateful night. The story of Sophia's selfless act resonated with many in the community. A group of local residents, moved by her compassion, started a support campaign. They set up a website to share her story and gather signatures for a petition to reinstate her at the hospital. The campaign gained traction. with people from all walks of life contributing to her cause. They saw Sophia not just as a surgeon, but as a symbol of the kind of healthcare they believed in, one driven by empathy and care for all. As the support campaign grew, Sophia was overwhelmed by the outpouring of kindness. She attended a small rally organized in her honor, where she met people who admired her courage. Hearing their stories, understanding how her actions had inspired them, Sophia felt a renewed sense of purpose. Despite her uncertain future, she knew that her decision to help the beggar had touched more lives than she had imagined. It was a poignant reminder of why she had chosen the path of medicine in the first place. The weight of expectations was heavy, but it also filled her with the courage to face the challenges ahead. Sophia was at home when she received a call from a nurse at the hospital. The nurse's words sent a shock through her. The beggar, the very man she had risked everything to save, had vanished without a trace. No one knew where he went or why. His sudden disappearance added a new layer of mystery to the already complicated situation. Sophia felt a strange connection to him, a responsibility for his well-being. And now he was gone. This news sparked a burning curiosity in Sophia. Why did he leave? And where could he have gone? She felt compelled to find him, believing that he might hold answers to the many questions swirling in her mind. The more Sophia thought about the beggar's disappearance, the more fixated she became on finding him. She couldn't shake the feeling that his story was a key piece of the puzzle in her own situation. His identity, his reasons for being at the hospital that day, why he chose to leave, all these questions haunted her. She decided to take action, to step out of her uncertainty and into the mystery of the beggar's life. This decision set her on a new path, one that she hoped would lead to some semblance of truth and closure. Determined, Sophia began her search where she first encountered the beggar, the streets around the hospital. She walked the same paths, looked at the same corners where she had seen him sitting, hoping to find a clue. She asked street vendors, security guards, anyone who might have seen him, but no one could provide any concrete information. Each step felt heavy with disappointment, but Sophia was not one to give up easily. She expanded her search, visiting nearby shelters and soup kitchens, anywhere the beggar might have sought refuge. In her quest, Sophia spoke to numerous people who might have crossed paths with the beggar. She listened to their stories, hoping for a lead, but each conversation seemed to lead to a dead end. Despite the lack of progress, these interactions gave Sophia a deeper understanding of the lives of the homeless and the challenges they faced. This empathy fueled her determination to continue the search, not just for answers about the beggar, but also to understand the world he came from. One evening, feeling particularly disheartened, Sophia found herself looking through old photo albums. Pictures from her medical school days caught her eye. She remembered the young, idealistic woman she was, filled with dreams of saving lives. Those days at medical school were challenging but exciting, filled with the promise of making a difference. As she flipped through the pages, memories of late-night study sessions, her first successful diagnosis, and the mentors who had guided her flooded back. It was a time of growth and learning, of shaping the doctor she would become. Inspired by these memories, Sophia decided to revisit her medical school. Walking through the familiar corridors, she felt a sense of nostalgia. She met with some of her old mentors, sharing her current predicament. They listened, offered words of wisdom and encouragement. One professor reminded her, "Medicine is as much about healing hearts as it is about healing bodies." These conversations rekindled Sophia's passion for medicine and reaffirmed her belief in her decision to help the beggar. During her visits to the shelters, Sophia met an old man who remembered the beggar. "He always wore a pendant around his neck," the man said, describing a unique symbol on it. This detail piqued Sophia's interest. It was an odd thing for a beggar to possess something so distinctive. The man couldn't provide more details, But this small piece of information felt like a significant clue. The pendant could be a key to understanding the beggar's identity, and Sophia was determined to uncover its meaning. Sophia spent hours online, trying to find anything related to the pendant's description. She scoured websites and forums, looking for similar symbols or any leads. The pendant, unique and seemingly out of place for a homeless person, suggested that the beggar might not be who he appeared to be. This revelation added a new dimension to her search. Who was this man, really? And why was he living on the streets? The mystery of the beggar deepened, and Sophia's curiosity grew stronger. With the clue about the pendant in hand, Sophia's investigation took a more focused direction. She visited libraries and historical societies, hoping to find any information that might shed light on the symbol. She also reached out to jewelry experts and antique dealers, sending them sketches of the pendant. Each day, as she delved deeper into her research, the mystery seemed to grow more complex. The beggar's true identity remained elusive, hidden behind layers of questions and half-answers. The more Sophia learned, or failed to learn, about the beggar, the more she questioned his motives for being at the hospital that day. Was he really just a homeless man in need of medical attention? Or was there more to his story? His disappearance, the pendant, the lack of information about him? All these factors made Sophia question everything she thought she knew about the man she had helped. As she lay in bed each night, her mind raced with theories and possibilities. The beggar's true identity, his life, his reasons for disappearing. Sophia was determined to uncover the truth, no matter where it led. As days passed, the media continued to spotlight Sophia's story. Articles and TV segments painted her as a symbol of dedication and compassion in healthcare. The narrative began to shift, from a surgeon who broke the rules to a dedicated doctor who put patient care above all else. Social media buzzed with support for Sophia, with hashtags like Stand with Sophia and Compassion Over Convention trending. The public, once divided, started rallying behind her, praising her bravery and commitment to saving lives, regardless of the circumstances. Sophia's story transcended her individual actions and became a larger symbol of the healthcare debate. People began to see her as a representation of what healthcare could be, driven by empathy and the fundamental desire to help those in need. Editorials and opinion pieces discussed the rigidity of healthcare regulations and the need for more humane considerations in medical practice. Sophia, once isolated in her struggle, now found herself at the heart of a growing movement calling for change in the healthcare system. The day of the hearing arrived. Sophia, accompanied by her lawyer, David Miller, faced the state medical board. The hearing room was filled with tension as the board reviewed the details of the unauthorized surgery. David presented Sophia's case with fervor, emphasizing her impeccable record, her dedication to patient care, and the unique circumstances that led to her decision. He argued that her actions, though against hospital policy, were in the best interest of the patient and highlighted the moral dilemma she faced. David passionately argued that Sophia's decision was a testament to her commitment as a doctor. At what point does adherence to rules outweigh the value of a human life? He posed to the board. The room fell silent as he spoke. Sophia listened, feeling a mix of anxiety and gratitude. David's words resonated with everyone present, highlighting the complexity of the situation and the depth of Sophia's character. The board listened intently, their expressions unreadable as they considered the arguments presented. In the midst of the legal battle, the community organized a large rally in support of Sophia. Hundreds gathered, holding signs with messages of support and solidarity. The crowd was diverse. Patients Sophia had treated, fellow healthcare workers, and people touched by her story. The atmosphere was one of unity and determination, a collective voice demanding justice for a doctor who had dared to put compassion first. Moved by the overwhelming support, Sophia took to the stage. Her speech was impromptu, but her words were heartfelt. She spoke of her journey as a doctor, her belief in the sanctity of life, and her commitment to patient care. "I did what I felt was right," she told the crowd. "I couldn't turn my back on someone in need." Her speech was met with cheers and applause, further endearing her to the public and solidifying her status as a symbol of compassionate healthcare. Emboldened by the rally's support, Sophia felt a renewed sense of determination in her quest to find the beggar. She revisited shelters and soup kitchens, speaking with more conviction and a clearer purpose. Her interactions weren't just about gathering information. They became opportunities to connect with and understand the struggles of the homeless community. Sophia's quest was evolving, becoming as much about uncovering the beggar's story as it was about understanding the broader issues faced by the homeless. Sophia extended her search by reaching out to other healthcare workers. She spoke with doctors, nurses, and volunteers, sharing her story and asking if they had encountered the beggar. These conversations often led to discussions about the challenges of providing care to the homeless and the limitations faced by healthcare professionals. Sophia's journey was opening her eyes to the complexities of healthcare beyond the operating room, highlighting the gaps between policy and the realities on the ground. One day, Sophia received a phone call from a volunteer at a local shelter. The volunteer claimed to have seen a man matching the beggar's description a few weeks back. The man had a distinctive pendant, just like the one Sophia was looking for. Sophia noted the details. The man was seen near a park on the outskirts of the city. Filled with a mix of hope and apprehension, Sophia decided to investigate the lead immediately, hoping that this time she might be one step closer to finding the beggar. Sophia drove to the park, her mind racing with possibilities. She searched the area, asking anyone she could find if they had seen the man described. Hours passed, but her efforts seemed futile. Just as she was about to give up, she spotted a man who resembled the beggar from a distance. Her heart leapt, but as she approached, she realized it was a case of mistaken identity. The disappointment was crushing, but Sophia knew she couldn't give up. The mystery of the beggar's identity and his sudden disappearance only deepened, and Sophia felt more determined than ever to uncover the truth. The endless days of searching and the emotional toll of the legal battle began to wear on Sophia. She found herself growing tired, both physically and mentally. Doubts crept in, making her question the path she was on. Was her relentless search for the beggar worth the energy and time she was investing? The uncertainty of her legal situation only compounded her stress. The once clear lines of her purpose now seemed blurred, and Sophia felt herself grappling with a sense of burnout that clouded her once unwavering determination. As the days turned into weeks, Sophia's resolve waned. She found herself questioning not just her search for the beggar, but also her decisions that led to this point. The weight of her choices lay heavy on her shoulders. The loss of her job, the scrutiny of the public eye, and the uncertain future of her medical career, all these factors converged, leaving Sophia in a state of introspection. She wondered if her actions, driven by her impulse to help, were really the right ones. This period of self-doubt was a stark contrast to the confident surgeon she once was. One afternoon, as Sophia walked through a busy street market trying to clear her head, a chance encounter presented itself. A vendor, recognizing her from the news, approached her. "I've seen the man you're looking for," he said, referring to the beggar. He described seeing the beggar a few days earlier in an area not far from the market. This unexpected lead reignited a spark in Sophia. She thanked the vendor and hurried in the direction he had indicated, her heart racing with a mix of hope and skepticism. Sophia navigated the streets, following the vendor's directions. Her earlier doubts were replaced by a renewed sense of purpose. As she searched, her mind raced with possibilities. Could this really be the lead she had been hoping for? Would she finally find the answer she had been seeking? The area was unfamiliar, and she felt a mix of excitement and nervousness as she moved closer to her potential destination. This could be the breakthrough she needed in her relentless quest for the truth. Sophia's search led her to a charity event for the homeless being held in a local community center. As she scanned the crowd, her eyes landed on a familiar face. It was the beggar, but he looked different, well-groomed and dressed in a suit. Shocked, Sophia approached him. Before she could speak, he smiled and said, "Hello, Dr. Sophia." His demeanor was calm and composed, a stark contrast to the man she remembered. The moment was surreal, and Sophia stood there, speechless. The man introduced himself as Jonathan Hartley. He revealed that he was not a beggar, but a successful businessman. Jonathan explained that he had disguised himself to find a compassionate surgeon for a new hospital project he was funding. Sophia was stunned. The revelation was overwhelming, turning everything she thought she knew on its head. The man she had saved out of compassion was not who he appeared to be, and her entire journey, fraught with challenges and sacrifices, had been based on a deception. Jonathan explained his unconventional approach. He wanted to find a surgeon who prioritized patient care over status and wealth, someone who would treat a beggar with the same care as a millionaire. His search led him to Sophia, whose selfless act of performing surgery on him under risky circumstances demonstrated the qualities he sought. Sophia listened, her emotions a whirlwind of confusion, anger, and disbelief. She struggled to reconcile the man before her with the beggar she had known. As Jonathan spoke, Sophia wrestled with a myriad of feelings. She felt betrayed by his deception, yet she couldn't deny the impact of his words. The opportunity he presented, to lead a hospital that aligned with her values, was the kind of chance she had always dreamed of. But it came tainted with the knowledge that her recent hardships were the result of a test she never knew she was taking. The complexity of her emotions was overwhelming, leaving her to ponder the ethical implications of Jonathan's actions and the unexpected path it opened for her. After much contemplation, Sophia accepted Jonathan's offer. Despite the unconventional way it was presented, the opportunity to lead a hospital that embodied her ideals was too significant to pass up. She saw it as a chance to make a real difference, to create a place where compassionate care was the priority. This decision marked the beginning of a new chapter in her life, one filled with possibilities and the promise of change. As Sophia embarked on this new journey, she reflected on the tumultuous path that led her here. Her experiences had shaped her, not just as a surgeon, but as a person. She was more determined than ever to make a lasting impact in healthcare. Sophia's story, with its twists and turns, became a testament to resilience, empathy, and the power of staying true to one's convictions. Her legacy would be one of breaking barriers and redefining what it meant to be a doctor, inspiring future generations to lead with their hearts as much as their minds. Do you like this touching and surprising story? If so, we invite you to leave us a comment expressing your opinion. If you want to continue enjoying inspiring stories like this one, subscribe to our channel or check out the other videos shown at the bottom of the screen. Thank you for your cooperation,